I will let everybody know this could get a little bit touchy because
You can't predict who's going to harm your child. It could be anybody.
some have never said anything to anybody.
When the child is face to face with the perpetrator, although you want to be able to protect them and for that not to happen, it will happen because perpetrators do get those moments and those windows in time. My childhood trauma was the big motivator here. I was experimenting with a lot of drugs when I was in high school. I was drinking way too much. I was a binge drinker. A point came where I said,
Doesn't matter where you've been, what you've done, what life's happened, you can make a difference. Your life matters. You are here with a purpose.
I believe that I can make a contribution, and one of them would be for kids never to have to go through what I've been through, which is child abuse. And
How do you push past it though?
I had to make a lot of early decisions in life, and one of them was trauma does build pathways and etch pathways in your brain that changes the way you see the world.
Explain that a little bit more. So
okay.
people that pretend it's all okay,
It's always going to come
I
back
don't-
and bite you in the ass.
how can somebody create the life they want and leave a legacy they're proud of?
I guess
Sally Jones, welcome to the Tomorrow's Not Today podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I'm actually really excited about today because you're hitting on a topic that's very relevant to a lot of people. And obviously what our podcast is about is helping people who've been through life, circumstances in life, good, bad, whatever it is, but then they take those ugly bits and then with those ugly bits, they turn them around, they go through a healing process, and then they use them to then go and make a difference into the rest of the world and other people's lives. And you are definitely doing that.
Yes. Yes.
So I'm excited about that. I will let everybody know this could get a little bit touchy in today's subject because probably, I think around about 25% of people will deal with a lot of what we're talking about.
Even higher.
Higher than that.
I think it's underrepresented, yeah.
Wow. So, but the big thing is, we want to hit on some topics that are going to hit people and realize, hey, it doesn't matter where you've been, what you've done, what life's happened, you can make a difference. Your life matters. You are here with a purpose. We're all created with a purpose, and that's what it's about.
I definitely believe that I have a purpose to be here, yeah.
Absolutely. Every single one of us does.
Yeah.
So, and obviously you've turned that around. And what I want people to know through this podcast more than anything is what we just talked about just then. You're here with a purpose. Doesn't matter where you've been, what you've done. You can make a difference in yourself and other people's lives as well. So tell us a little bit about this incredible program that you've put together.
Well, after seeing the gaps in education from being a teacher for 20 years, and that's part of my experience that I bring to this whole project, I realized that, different strategies we could actually use that would be more authentic and more objective. And I've always had this kind of lens of looking at child protection due to my own experiences. So I noticed that in teaching, usually you have an organization that comes to the school and visits, but they don't have the sustainability because they don't come regularly. Therefore, it's just kind of like the kids don't get the drill and repetition or to be able to carry that through. And integrate those concepts. Another one is that there's a lot of negative messaging with people, for example, that will still fall back on stranger danger types of approaches, which aren't authentic or true or respectful to anyone either. And just the amount of trauma that teachers themselves go through in teaching kids. And another thing is, when the child is face-to-face with the perpetrator, although you want to be able to protect them and for that not to happen, it will happen because perpetrators do get those moments and those windows in time. So having the child with no skills at all when that happens is better to actually give them a skill set so that they are able to look at the situation and see how their body feels and is reacting to it, and trust those feelings and follow through with whatever they need to do. So the whole program is built around that. And I did some work with attachment theory and Greg Moran and even Mary Ainsworth in the past. So I'm very well versed on attachment theory, and my approach is based in that theory itself because I believe not enough people actually start from that area. But it's kind of how kids learn to trust the world and venture out and be able to feel safe. So a mom and a baby, for example, the baby will venture out to the world. Something might happen or a change in environment to upset the baby. They'll look behind at the mom and they'll, approach and then learn to feel more safe and venture out into the background or into the area again or environment. And eventually that's how they get security. They've got it with their mom, who's their secure base. But a lot of kids don't have that beginning.
No, absolutely. And we'll get into that in a little bit further.
Yeah.
I actually asked the questions backwards.
I know
That happens. But tell me a little bit more about you as a person, because you're obviously not a local.
No.
And you've had a lot of education, a lot of experience in a lot of different ways. Tell us more about you and where you're coming from that way.
Okay. Well, my childhood trauma was the big motivator here. And I remember when I was maybe 12, sitting on my mom's balcony, and I had just seen Belfast bombings and people being literally using brooms to wipe body parts out. That's the media that was back then in the day. And I just got really philosophical. I've always been a little bit wise in my brain. And I thought, you know what? There are so many things going on in the world that I believe that I can make a contribution, and one of them would be for kids never to have to go through what I've been through, which is child abuse. And wouldn't it be great if I can create another world where kids feel safe and have and feel empowered and have a voice and all the things that I didn't have. And the biggest one of those within that was trust, being able to trust other people and even trusting myself. So I never disclosed, so I fell through the cracks. I never really knew I was abused in any, I guess maybe I had complex PTSD. So I was 21 years old sitting in an emporium with people doing a survey on child abuse. And I went, oh my God, I'm checking off every single tick box. So this was in Canada. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Prior to that, I was
Whereabouts in Canada?
Ontario, Canada. Okay. London, Ontario.
You liked it there?
I love London, Ontario.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah. It was the place that I guess I could call home. I felt very comfortable in that world, aside from what was going on in my smaller world, I guess you could say. Yep. Yeah.
Okay. And is that when you first started studying, when you were in Canada?
Yes. I started studying, long time ago. Yeah. I was originally a psychiatric nurse. So I went into nursing and I was a psychiatric nurse. And I worked in an environment that was forensics. So they had done some criminal behaviors. I was working with people who had killed people, stabbed their babies, and horrific things happening. And a lot of those people were actually psychopaths or had been someone who had severe mental health issues, for example. So I worked with them, and I was, PTSD is a great thing because it just kind of makes you numb out and you don't really know the kind of danger that you could be in. And that hit me up a few times working there because we did have a death on another unit, but it still affected everybody. So, that was really bad. But it just kind of floated off me. It didn't bother me. And I always thought, why is it these things? And then I realized it's the PTSD. But yeah, that young lady was decapitated.
Goodness.
So, and because I mention it a lot of times and I go, yeah, I used to work and this happened and oh my God, right? But the extent of trauma that I actually went through without realizing it was trauma just in that situation alone. Because the nurse who actually dealt with that committed suicide and actually committed suicide in the block of apartments that I lived in.
Wow.
Yeah, so I mean, that in itself. And that was me at 19. So I had all the childhood trauma and that happened. and then more trauma after that because it carried in through my relationships as well. My
Which it
real
does.
learning, yeah.
It does. And that's I think one of the big things that I think a lot of people don't understand is the fact that if those things aren't dealt with, not to say everyone's going to be completely healed ever. None of us ever will, I don't believe. We're all going to be carrying something with us. But if they're not dealt with and continually wanting to improve, the effects they can have on relationships, on work, on everything is intense.
And and I guess one of the biggest things that of my learning is that you don't bring trauma into your own relationships, you know, and you have to be responsible in that way. So I guess my life has been having to be mindful of all the things that could happen and will happen and have happened. You know, you have to make sure that you don't bring trauma back, and that you do work on things like emotional regulation and that kind of thing. And it's bloody hard work because, as I was saying, I was saying to Carolyn, you know, when you're already in fight flight, and someone looks at you and says, "Calm down," you just want to think about it.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. But it is a really, really hard journey. So, yeah, I had to make a lot of early decisions in life. And one of them was I was experimenting with a lot of drugs when I was in high school. And I got to the point where I was taking so many that I blacked out in the mall and gave myself a black eye. Next day, I'm like, that's it. I'm making a decision. No more drugs. And I was only 14 at the time I did that. And I was very young.
So that was because I'm very curious as to how people make changes in life and what triggers them to make a decision and make the change, because we all go through life. We're all very different people. If you're brought up in the same home, you're a twin, you're whatever, you can be completely different to the next person next to you.
For sure.
And what makes the decision from one person to the next is very, very different. And how things affect people is very different, because it's very easy for us to look at someone and go, why didn't you just make that decision? They can do it. Why couldn't you do that?
Yeah, it's a really interesting thing, and Caroline and I were talking about that yesterday, in fact. And why is it that we are the survivors and stood up? And I mean, my sisters have survived as well, but not without, you know, having some addictions and some things going on in their lives. So I just was, I say I had a wise person inside of me. I don't know what it was, but I think, you know, at a certain point in time, maybe even after university, after I'd done my training in attachment theory and so on, because I went back to university and got my teaching degree after the nursing. And that was because I had born with a club foot. So I couldn't handle the nursing as much, the physical.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I went back to university and did all this other stuff. And where were we talking now from that? I think I really do feel like I had this wise person inside of me, and call it what you will. And maybe I've revisited that in my SQS, where I talk about the wise inner voice and listening to that. But yeah, there were pivotal moments that I remember that I stopped, and I thought I was abused severely, sexually, physically, and everything else by someone who's an alcoholic. Did I want that in my life? Did I want to become that? No. And I saw my sisters were party animals at that point as well too. And I'm like, okay, I'm just not going to do this because I got a purpose. Isn't that silly? Like,
Absolutely.
What 12, 14-year-old says that?
Yeah.
So I look back on that and go, wow, you know. And then I tuck it away like it's just something I said, and I'm not really realize that my life followed a trajectory and began to make that happen already, you know, create a pathway.
Yep.
Yeah.
100% believe
that. Because that happened, and I did the same with drinking. I was drinking way too much. I was a binge drinker. I loved just like down drinks and party and stuff like that. And a point came where I said, no, we're not doing this either. And I stopped, and I still don't drink to this day.
Yeah, and it's often you're weird if you don't drink.
Oh, especially if you're in Australia and you're around all the wineries.
Yeah.
It's like, what the hell?
Yeah,
Where's the
exactly.
door? See, go back to Canada.
So then, what brought you to Australia? Because you're now based in
Yeah.
South Australia.
I am. I have a partner here, a wife here, and she was my saving grace when I was coming out of actually a healing program for PTSD, complex PTSD in Ontario. And that was another pivotal moment where I made decisions. I mean, it was a very quick decision, and in hindsight, it would have been better if that would have been a process rather than hopping on a plane and saying, that's it, I've got to get out of this life now. But then again, we say, look, in retrospect, both of us say, yeah, but you wouldn't have done it, you know? If you know, so it's good that you were impulsive and came, because it was the right decision to make. And yeah, it has been. So I still have a good relationship with my wife, and yeah.
So now the work that you do, obviously based a lot from where you've been and what's happened and all that sort of thing, which is usually when we are our most effective. A lot of the amount of people who find their purpose, so to speak, I'll put in inverted commas because that's what everyone's looking for, is largely to do with stuff we've been through in life quite often. Some people, they just know, like I know some people there, since they were kids, they wanted to be a doctor or they wanted to be an actor or whatever it was. That was it. That's what they want to do, and they do. But I think that's very, very few of us. The most of us seem to find their purpose through stuff that happens in life and comes through. It sounds like that's what happened to you.
It's definitely what happened to me, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd choose to work in child protection. It's a very, a difficult job, and you see a lot of kids getting hurt and that type of thing. And my job, though, is to empower those children to not focus on the pain and hurt they're going through, because that would just, change the whole emotive thing. You want to be able to empower them. And I believe that everyone's been kind of standing back and not wanting to heighten the kids, or not wanting to heighten, whatever. And so they don't tell them the truth. And with this program, it does in a way that's very engaging. So I teach them exactly what grooming behaviors look like and what it does. And I teach them what healthy and safe boundaries are. I get them to switch on their primal defense system, so they learn the concept of self-trust in their body and then in their mind. And then it's about trusting other people by learning about the grooming. And so it's normalizing those concepts, which hasn't been done in the past. And it's online, so it's very objective.
You know what's scary?
Lots.
Is the fact that we have to normalize that.
Yeah, it is. But it's sadly our world.
Do.
Yeah.
But we do, unfortunately. But it's to me, it's really scary that we have to normalize that. I would love it if the world was going the other way, where that wasn't a normal thing.
We all? Yeah.
But unfortunately, we do need to do that. And because like the amount of kids that are affected that way. I've been very blessed where it hasn't happened to me, but I know a number of people very well who have been through that. And I could not possibly come even close to imagining what that could be like.
Yeah.
But the fact that you've put a program together that makes kids aware. Now, the program, because I was reading up about it and how it works and where it goes and the cartoons you put with it and all that sort of stuff, it's a great thing. And it looks like it's quite interactive and kids get involved with it. So they're learning by playing type of thing.
Yeah.
It's something that obviously from what I see helps kids with outside people. What about when it comes with family?
Well, that's where I think it took a long time for the penny to fall, because I had to think of how I did this program. So it's not the what, it's the how. And the only thing like you can't predict who's going to harm your child. It could be anybody. It could also be a sibling or a peer. So I guess that's how I got to you have to trust yourself first. You have to build that inner kind of pillar of trust and start to make some decisions for yourself. Because there are going to be times where you're going to need to do that. So you need to listen to your body, you need to listen to your voice. You need to use your voice to advocate for yourself, and to find those people in your life that you can trust. We call them safe people. We call them champions in the program, and those are the people you turn to if you have questions or thoughts. So it's not entirely online. There are connections made to the people that you can trust outside, and they have to determine that themselves because they'll know if that person touched them and crossed their boundaries. They'll know if they recognize behaviors that they went, oh my gosh, I've seen somebody who has paid that kind of attention to me, who has wanted to keep secrets and that kind of thing. That person may be not a safe person. And then they would go to the the program, one of their champions, and chat with them about that. And there's also a switch. Did you see the switch?
No, I didn't see that.
Okay. When they watch the interactive learning lessons, there's comprehension and questions with that, but also there's a switch that the children are told that they can touch at any point in time during the program where they think maybe there might be an unsafe person in their life. So if they recognize anything at all, push the switch. That will immediately go to an email to the person in charge of that program.
Wow.
And
That's
that
awesome.
is where the external also comes into play, because then we set it up so that the person within the school is either the well-being person in leadership, not a person who will say, sorry, I've had my own trauma. Could you please be taking this role on? Unless that person is very special and a champion to one of the other kids. So, so the school will know about it and be able to make those mandatory reports.
So that's something. That's a great way to be able to deal with the whole family issue, because in that situation, again, this is secondhand, not first experience.
Yeah.
But from what I've heard, when that's the case, you can't tell anybody. You're the only one. You've got to keep the secrets. It's your fault if anything happened. All of this sort of
All the
stuff goes
shame,
on.
the blame, yeah.
All of that. So it's a great way to be able to do the switch. It goes to somebody else, so you don't feel like you're telling anybody because of that, but yet you do get to tell somebody what's going on at the same time.
That's right. So it takes it offline because there is concern about having everything online, obviously.
Yeah.
That wouldn't translate into the real world, but this does through that switch and through building of the champions outside of it, and giving people information on the outside too. And the one thing I would like to really integrate with the school is to advocate for a authentic trauma informed environment across the school. I think if schools do that, they prioritize safety. And most of the time, unfortunately, that's not the case. It's all about standardized testing and, making sure they know their math and their English, but they don't give the same priority to child protection. It just kind of sits in PE at the back, and a lot of people just kind of don't teach it or try to integrate it without the knowledge and the experience they should be.
Yeah. Again, one of those things that we wish we'd never have to put in, but it is an important aspect because of the...
It's huge. And I actually think there should be a policy with the curriculum in our CARA where they actually include child protection as a primary topic, because it's so rampant abuse that we should be taking kids' safety more seriously and their empowerment and learning around that. If we want to change the world, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to go in a slightly different direction right now, because there's a lot of people listening right now who, and again, I wish it wasn't, but there is, who have dealt with life through different things, Some have never said anything to anybody, even though
Oh, I
they're
know,
adults.
yeah.
Some have, but haven't dealt with stuff.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of our listeners are business professionals,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of others as well. How? Because like we talked about before, it affects relationships, it affects work, it affects every aspect
Oh,
of
yeah.
life. What should they do to make a difference to them, their family, their future, their business?
Ah, wow, that's a big one. But I think first and foremost, and in part a sidebar, but with the same lens, is that I'm doing my own podcast as well to look at the other side of trauma and childhood abuse. So that is the adults that sit in that very pocket you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's called Alchemy of Trauma. So it's very similar to what you're doing. I think the first one is the recognition of child abuse.
Recognition to yourself?
Yeah. Recognition of the situation to yourself and how
okay.
how huge it is,
Yeah.
and what you can do. So the first thing you would do, because I mean, let's face it, you'll have a lot of perpetrators out there as well that goes, oh God, you know, it's not something they probably want to do, and there is help for them. Yeah, they can get help through lots of different organizations and develop circles of trust, I think they call it, to support them to not perpetrate, but also the victims. Because the horrible thing is that trauma does build pathways and etch past pathways in your brain that changes the way you see the world. It changes the way you see everything. And I guess understanding some of the major things that are involved in the symptoms of trauma, what happens in the end, a lot of emotional regulation problems. That's first and foremost. A lot of problems with the relationships, full stop, and attachment issues. And when they recognize that, to reach out for help and to have their own goals as to what they want to do, you know, to help the world and themselves. And that could be just, they might just be capable of helping themselves, whereas I kind of gone in the other whole direction. But those people would be doing themselves and the world great justice if they actually reached out to address their own issues, because they can't do anything past that.
Yeah, exactly.
They have to start there, and then if they want to go further, they can. And a lot of people who have had trauma will do that. They have that sense of empathy that's huge. And yeah, I think that's why we see a lot of people in the area go into trauma-informed stuff. Yeah.
So tell me now.
Or they could also help me to build the project if they're busy.
Tell me now how, subtle little line there, how we can, because you've obviously made a decision that you're going to make a difference with people. Mm-hmm. And once you've dealt with trauma, but it's still back there.
Oh, yeah.
It's still there.
It never goes away.
So it's a decision that is if not daily, pretty close to daily thing that has to happen with people. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I think with a lot of people is they don't get that.
Yeah.
They don't understand that, I'm still dealing with this. It's like, yeah, we all are.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you can't make a difference and you aren't here with a purpose and you can make a big difference. And I think for a lot of people, when we are dealing with stuff, that's the greatest time to go against what you're feeling and to make the difference that you want to make. And I think that is one of the most powerful, courageous things anybody can ever do.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I say to a lot of people, do you think this is easy, what I'm doing? You know, what I'm doing is not easy because I've used myself as an example. Therefore, I have to re-traumatize, basically re-traumatize all the memories over and over and over. And it's bloody hard work. It's therapy in and of itself to the nth degree, because you want to make that big goal, go ahead. But, you know, you're going to be dealing with trauma because it never goes away. It's a scar that never goes away. And you're always going to be having to watch your own self with your emotional regulation, making sure that you're taking care of yourself and doing all that really good stuff in order to move to the next level, if that's something you want to do. It's not something I think anyone would want to choose to do when they're in that spot. Like when I was 12, like I said, that wise person kind of pushed me on. And otherwise, I don't think I could have done it because the journey's just been too hard.
Yeah.
It's bloody hard work. So I think that some people weren't meant to have reach out and do that. Some people, their actual scope is within helping themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that in and of itself is going to help other people.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
You've got to make a difference in yourself.
Yeah.
It's got to start there.
Yeah.
It
And
has
some
to
people
start there.
in small ways and some people in bigger ways, depending on, how hard of a journey you want to have. But the thing is that they say that you can change the brain, but I always think there's got to be a scar because trauma is something you just don't get over. Trauma will last forever. That's always an experience you had that you remember.
It's like anything really, isn't it? It's you decide what you're going to do with it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it is a big decision and it's a
Conscious
hard
decisions.
decision and it doesn't stop. But you decide what you're going to do with that. We all decide what we're going to do with our life. We all decide what we're going to do tomorrow and how we're going to make a difference. Or are we going to stay in that place?
Yeah.
And for some, like we said before, it's a heck of a lot harder than what it is for others. Why? I don't know. I don't know if any of us really know because we're all different.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a daily decision. And I know when I'm coaching people sometimes and stuff is really heavy and hard, I'll just say to them, just do one thing. I don't care how small it is, but do one thing today that's going to move you forward.
And that's good advice. Really
It can be
good
the
advice.
minutest thing of all. I don't care what it is, but one little thing.
Only even if it's self-care.
Yeah, exactly. Because that
Yeah.
looks after you. That helps you get going.
Yeah.
We all, well, not all. Some people have never been to that situation, which is fantastic, and how that should be normal. That should be normal. But even then, if you really want to make a difference, because this podcast is all about people making a difference, leaving a legacy they're proud of. That's what it's about. And if we're going to do that, you have to make a decision every day still to push beyond where you are and beyond what's comfortable.
I know. And I feel so overwhelmed a lot of times because I'm only one person.
Yeah.
And it's like one person who changed. And funnily enough, I did get special awards for women changing the world. So that was kind of pivotal because, you question it all because you get this imposter syndrome. But my bestie in Canada, Betty Ann, she said to me, I remember we went to a psychic once and they said, you were going to change the world. And those exact words. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. We like that kind of stuff once in a while when we were little. So, yeah.
Yeah, and we all can make a difference and we all can change the world. And I think that's the point, that we all can. But how are we going to do it? And I love the fact that you've taken something that was horrible, that's ugly, that nobody ever wants to have to deal with, but you've turned it around now and helping other people, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So those decisions, what happens with you when the imposter syndrome comes along? Because again, I talk to people all the time, and it's like, I feel like I shouldn't be doing this. Who am I to do that? That's normal.
Yeah. It is normal, and I think it's something that you have to push past. Again, another barrier to achieving your goal. Because it can be pretty real and pretty go pretty deep.
How do you push past it though?
I guess just to realize that I'm authentic and that what I've experienced is real, and that authenticity gives me a level of expertise nobody else can replicate. So if I bring it back to that, and that what I've experienced, millions of people are experiences, and wouldn't it be great? I've always wanted to make my difference, make my mark in the world. So it's always been a goal of mine. But for everybody else, I guess just looking at themselves and being able to be on a journey of self-improvement. That sounds terrible. It's like improvement means you weren't good, but What I mean is when you're on a journey of a health journey such as that, just to be the best version of yourself you can possibly be.
I think that works because we're all trying to get better.
Yeah.
None of us are there.
No.
If you think you're there,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
in a lot of
It's
trouble.
so true, isn't it?
Yeah. We all need to get better.
Yeah.
Every one of us, no matter who we think we are.
Yeah, I know.
But it's interesting, that imposter syndrome, and I think that actually stops a lot of people from pushing ahead and doing
I think
stuff.
so, yeah.
Because who am I? What have I got to offer? This has happened to me. I'm nobody, and because of this or because I've done this, I can't go out and help people or do anything else. It's like, no, actually, because of that, that gives you every right to go out and make a difference.
I get what you're saying. That makes sense. It's kind of like me saying it's a level of expertise that nobody else has, so they can't do it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you say to people who don't understand what trauma-informed practice is. I think the reason they don't understand is they don't have the lived experience to compare it to.
Right. Okay.
You know, so without that, they're like, what's the problem? Just tell them, just do this or that. Well, it's not that simple. And trauma-informed practice is a buzzword that doesn't really equate to what it authentically means anymore,
Explain that a little bit more.
Well, I work as a behavior support practitioner as well. So I always advocate for trauma-informed practice across environments because it's respectful, it's best practice for everything. So basically, it's, in a nutshell, it's about having everyone in the room feel safe and confident enough to open their voice, and open their mouth and say something. And if that's the bottom level, and this is why maybe I understand it so well, because that's where I started with this this program in itself, is that whole basic, how do you feel safe? You only feel safe if you feel secure. You only feel secure if you work on the little things daily, like you were saying, to be able to get to a better place. So I think a lot of people don't understand that because they don't have the experience or the lens to look back on what trauma actually feels like. Because a lot of people with trauma have the empathy to be able to empathize with other people who have had it. If they don't, then it's very hard. Then that's where you get the negative narratives. Oh, come on, it's not that time now. You'll be fine. She'll be right. And that doesn't always work, But what works is never stopping. And I mean, dog with the bone, I've been told. Dog with the bone. I like tenacity a lot better than that. But I have been probably the most tenacious person because I have had the setbacks, and I have sat there and bawled my head off for a whole day because this is too hard, but I haven't stopped.
Why?
Because I want to make a difference. I don't want anyone to have to go through what I went through. I felt very disempowered. I didn't trust anyone. I didn't feel secure. And that could be fixed. The healing can happen, but not without very conscious journey.
So that's your driving force?
Yeah, I guess it is.
And do you have to regularly push that forward, or is that something that's just inside of you, or is it a bit of both?
I say it definitely is something you push forward.
Yeah.
It's ongoing. It's an ongoing process of healing. That if you're not completely healed, as you might, I think you said earlier, how can you expect to go into a relationship where, is healthy? So what you want to do is be the best version of what you are. And yeah, my motivation to actually heal myself is also through this journey, if that's what you're asking, because that's definitely part of it.
Yeah, which I think, as we said before, that journey never ends for any of us.
Yeah.
And then life's going to hit us again sooner or later somehow.
It does. It does. And this is bloody hard work. And like I said, the worst part is retraumatization. I only discovered last month, maybe a couple of months ago, that I was raped when I was a virgin. That memory came to me, and the processing of that whole situation came to me. And that was a memory that popped up from re-traumatizing and redoing this project over and over and revisiting things. So when that happens, you actually have to be really tough and accept what comes to you as well, because memories will pop up when you're doing the healing process, and you have to be able to move through them. I don't think you would have the memory if you weren't ready to address the healing around that memory. So it's an ongoing healing process. And like you say, it never just goes away.
And I would imagine you would recommend, and we need to put this in here, that if you are dealing with stuff, speak to a professional.
Absolutely. And there are lots out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just remember, when it comes to suicidal ideation, because that's a common thing, that things will change, but you have to make that conscious effort and to reach out to your people, because there is at least one person that I'm sure everyone has the trust and faith in. And that's all you need, is that one person to be your person. Everybody has a person.
And that's a good call for every one of us to be that person for somebody.
Yeah.
Just to be there for somebody.
It's kind of like an adult champion.
Yeah. It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is. Because we don't, and it's funny, when I was doing an interview actually yesterday, obviously it hasn't aired yet as we're talking about this, but the same type of thing is that everybody's going through something. We need to be there for somebody else. And it's one of the interesting things with that as well, which I really want to put out here, is some people that are dealing with the heaviest stuff are there for other people, but they're doing that partly out of the fact that they're dealing with their own stuff, and they're so dealing with so much, they want to help other people to try and help themselves. But that's where those people can be the most dangerous position.
Yeah. Yeah, very vulnerable. I totally agree with you. I mean, I'll be the first to say that I've experienced as a child, what is it called now? Failure to thrive. I was diagnosed with that.
What's that?
Well, you don't want to live, and you're like a baby and a little kid. You don't want to live. I was taking off from my family all the time when I was little. I've got pictures of me as a baby, and I still have the marks on my chin from climbing down steps to get away from the domestic violence that was happening in my house. So, that's...
It's intense.
Yeah, it's intense.
And again, the whole point here, you've taken that and you're turning it around to make a difference, make the world a better place.
Yeah.
Because we've got two choices. We can either do that or the opposite.
Yeah.
And that's
There's actually three when you think people come from that environment. They could be a perpetrator. They could be a survivor who does what I'm doing. Or they could be not dealing with it at all and sitting in the closet, and and that's probably the worst place to be when you think about it.
And pretending it's all okay.
Yeah. So
people that pretend it's all okay, or just go on with life and let's shove that in the back because
it's always going to come back and bite you in the ass in one way or another. I'm a firm believer that if you need to learn something, or whatever that something is, that lesson or that skill or that ability will always challenge you by showing up in your life in other ways. So it's best to just address that, don't you think? I think.
Oh, I agree. I agree. And it is ridiculously hard to address these things, like ridiculously hard.
Yeah.
But if you don't, I've always said, if you don't deal with your crap, it will come back to haunt you.
It definitely will. Yeah.
Sooner or later.
Yeah.
And I've seen it way too many times. And the damage that it can cause is insane. To just get stuff done. And then you can be, when you do that, because when you're living with that, you live out of fear, not love. You operate, you see people from fear, a version of fear, not love. You speak out of fear, not love. You react out of fear, not love.
Yeah.
And I think once that happens, then the whole world starts to change. And you can cover it up for a while. You can do all sorts of good stuff and lovely things, and it looks like all lovely and beautiful, but sooner or later, it's going to fall to bits if we don't deal with it.
There's this crazy thing called masking.
Yes.
And a lot of us do it at some point or another, but at the end of the day, you're faced without the mask. You look in the mirror and it's you. And you can't fool yourself. So it's a good time it's a good analogy, isn't it? It's a good time to actually take a more deep look at yourself and underneath that actual face of your own and say, okay, what can I do to heal myself?
Because how many people actually go home at night and they stand in front of the mirror and they know themselves, but other people don't see that. They've got the mask. And that to me is a dangerous place.
Yeah.
That I really want people to understand and get to.
How can they not be the best version of their self for their kids, for their partners, for their life in general, or even if they have a family and have gotten to that point? You just can't. You wouldn't be the best of yourself for anybody, including yourself.
We've got to live beyond ourselves, don't we?
Yeah, for sure.
I think if we live beyond ourselves, it's a very small world. We live outside of ourselves, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
There's so much there.
The
And I think that's
scope's
where
huge,
the opportunity is.
Yeah.
That's where potential is. That's where purpose lives to make it all work.
Yeah, I agree.
So with people who have, and I'm going to ask you this, just we're coming close to the end now, with people who've dealt with things in life and they do, okay, maybe they're doing okay. They may not be, dealing with a lot of the stuff whether we've gone into.
Yeah.
But they want to make a difference, but they're like, who am I? What difference can I make really? I've got nothing in particular to say. What would you say to those people? They're the normal, average, nice Joe.
So they haven't done any of the work.
Well, they may not have been through anything drastic like we're talking about. They may just be the normal Joe. Life wasn't too bad. It was all okay. I'm pretty comfortable now. But you obviously, driven can be taken the wrong way. I use the word driven in a very positive aspect is how I see it.
Yeah.
Which you are and a lot of other people are. How would you encourage people to get a bit of a drive, a bit of a passion to make a difference in the world?
I think just by having more of a growth mindset and saying, okay, I was one of the lucky ones. But I think the best thing they can do is try to understand how lucky they were to not have gone through that, and how they could actually try to understand that this isn't the norm, and that they can reach out and help people. They can understand better who they are if they progress through their journey, and it's a different kind of journey. But it would be good to realize, looking at the research and the statistics out there, what this problem had, the scope of this problem. In fact, I met one yesterday, and he was lovely, absolutely lovely, had a beautiful family. And it gave me hope, because there are people out there who do care about the world, who haven't gone through the trauma. And you look at them and you think, oh my gosh, how well put together are they? And they're just authentic, lovely human beings. Not always, but I mean, I've met quite a few of them.
Definitely there, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think their part in the world, and his definitely was to reach out to others and try to help them and try to understand them. And I gave him some pieces of information that will help him understand as well. So I guess that's another part of my job, that I should be responsible for educating others about what it is like to have this journey that I've had anyway.
I think the word you use there, understand, is a huge one, because we don't understand.
Yeah.
If it's not our experience, if it's not me, quite often we don't understand, or we don't try to understand.
Yeah.
And I think in trying to understand scenarios and people makes all the difference in the world.
And I think understanding, when you talk about that word itself, is, and I talk about empathy, but it comes down to a cellular level. I mean, when you look at intergenerational transmission of abuse, that's genetic. And having trauma is genetic. You feel it at a whole nother level, the body level, the brain level, everything. It's not just knowledge in your head. Whereas, maybe that's where the empathy comes from. This is getting to be a very deep conversation. It's from having the body memory, and not just the physical memory, but the body memory, the cellular memory, the memory that takes it to another level, which can have the potential. So that might be an interesting thing for people to explore, is to understand that it's more than just knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's all very scientific, all of that. And honestly, that's actually a biblical thing as well. Talks about it. 100%. And
did not know that.
Yeah. It's amazing how science and everything works out. And our body, we know it's in our body, and you can feel it intensely. Because as much as I haven't been through a bunch of the stuff we're talking about, there's other stuff.
Yeah.
And you feel it inside your body, and at a cellular level, you can tell that.
And that is the key component of what I'm working with my SQS for kids with.
Right.
Is that they have to recognize in their body where they feel that, all the danger and warning signs. And
it's interesting, different things show up. And Dr. Gabor Mate, I'm not sure if you've read or heard much of his stuff. Phenomenal. I think he's a psychiatrist or psychologist, and he'd studied normal medicine and everything else as well. And he talks a lot about that, and how he will actually listen to what someone's telling him. But what he'll do is he'll find out where there's pain, or where there's inflammation, or where there's different things that are happening to their body. And he will come to a conclusion pretty much with what's happened to their life.
Yeah, interesting.
From a traumatic scenario.
Yeah.
It's really interesting how it works.
It is.
That was very intense, Sally. Thank you so much. We got one question we need to ask at the end.
Okay.
We're all about creating the life you want and leaving a legacy you can be proud of. So I want to ask you, how can somebody create the life they want and leave a legacy they're proud of?
By taking their experiences, good and bad, finding out where their expertise is, and what information they can share with the world to make a better place, and actually going out there and doing it, going out there and getting yourself known, making. A lot of people don't do this. Make your work your passion. Make it purposeful for you, so that connection can be made. Because everybody has lots of different things to offer. And from the trauma, from anything else, just to be able to share whatever it is they feel passionate and purposeful about, that's what I think.
Love it. Sally, thank you so much. What you're doing for kids, with kids, for families, and obviously future generations as well that's going to be affected by this. Thank you so much, and I really appreciate you being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.